this man here. And I have to thank the men of Omega Psi Phi, my big brother, David Marion. Thank you so much for being here. We have a special award for you before you take the mic and set us on fire like you always do. We want to thank you for your committed service to protecting Black lives as we were impacted in our sisterhood by the death of Sandra Bland.
Yes, yes.
And we memorialized that just in the last couple days. So I want to thank you for your service. We love you. We love and champion all the work that you do in Centennial Sorority Program.
Wow.
Thank you so much, President. Hold on, MC Light. You got to come back, just stand on the stage so I can brag on my sister. You see, this is my sister here, y'all. This sister is just an incredible human being. I mean, not only is she an awesome sister of Sigma Gamma Rho, not only is she an awesome MC, not only is she an awesome DJ, not only is she a brilliant Black woman, but she is that iconic voice. That iconic voice, like a voice you hear on television and you don't have to wonder or speculate who it is. I mean, she is in a very small circle of voices that are iconic in the world today. When you hear Morgan Freeman's voice, you know who it is. When you hear James Earl Jones' voice, you know who it is. And when you hear an AT&T commercial, or you hear a Nissan commercial, or you hear a McDonald's commercial, or you hear a BET television commercial, and you hear the voice of MC Light, you know who it is. I believe in giving people their roses while they're here to appreciate them.
That's right.
I mean, her voice is one of those historic, iconic voices like that of a Martin Luther King, of a Malcolm X, of a Fannie Lou Hamer. And what I love so much about this sister is not only like those who preceded her with those iconic voices, it's not just the voice, but it's the substance that is spoken when you hear the voice. So let's give a big round of applause for your sorority sister, the Queen, MC Light. Happy Centennial Boule, Sigma Gamma Rho.
Yes.
Are you all happy to come home to Indianapolis, Indiana?
Yes.
Come on, I want y'all to do it so the power 7 looking down from heaven can hear you. Are you all happy to come home to Indianapolis, Indiana? I know what you all in Grand Basilisk Liberty are doing today is setting a precedent of greater service for greater progress so that the sisters of Sigma Gamma Rho, yet unborn, will come back
That's
for
right.
the bicentennial.
Oh, right.
21, 22 to Indianapolis, to Butler University, and be able to follow your example. That's what you're here doing this week. Amen?
Amen.
And to President Danko, Butler University, and all the NHPC presidents, I give great respect, especially to the Grand Basileus of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, the greatest fraternity on planet Earth, Dr. David Marion. You see, sisters of Sigma Gamma Rho, all great men may not be Omegas, but all Omegas are great men.
Yes.
But for your awesome leadership of Grand Basileus Rashida Liberty and your leadership of Sigma Gamma Rho, I am in awe of you this evening because you all have demonstrated what Black Girl Magic is.
Yes, sir. Yes.
You're standing on the legacy of your 7 founders, the 7 Black women, those 7 educators who understood the purpose of how we protect and project our future.
Yes.
So, may it please the court, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I will make the argument this evening that if you all commit to the legacy of your founders at this Centennial Boule, and if you live up to the profound slogan of Sigma Gamma Rho, of greater service will yield greater progress for our community and especially for our Black children, then our children will have a better America. A better America where they have an equal opportunity at life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness.
Yes, indeed.
Because your 7 founders, they understood, like Malcolm X, education was the passport to the future. See, your 7 founders understood the Chinese proverb, as my Uncle Jesse always taught me as a boy, that education does no good if you keep it amongst the educated.
Right.
And your 7 founders understood, as the great civil rights leader Medgar Evers understood, who said, and it is purported to be, Dr. Marion, that these were his last words on this earth before he left the NAACP meeting there in Jackson, Mississippi, drove to his home, got out of his car in his driveway, and was shot in the head and killed for standing up for our people.
Yes.
It is purported that the last documented words of Medgar Evers was, if we can educate the masses, then we will uplift the race.
Amen. That's right.
See, your founders understood that. Your founders understood what my mother always tried to teach me. She would say, baby, life ain't fair.
Right.
She said, life is hard. You make it fair by what you bring to the table. And if you don't bring anything to the table, then don't expect anybody to let you sit down at the table.
That's true.
My mother said education was something to bring to the table. Because she said, baby, once you get it up here, nobody can take it away from you.
That's right. That's right.
And your founders understood that. It was about educating our children, educating the next generation. And I think so often about that mission of making sure that our children will be more intelligent than those who will seek to oppress them. It is about education, sisters. Education is the key. You know, Ben Franklin said, democracy is like two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for lunch.
Oh, okay.
You know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know how that vote's gonna go.
Right.
But he said, liberty is making sure that lamb is well armed to protest that vote. So I submit to you, sisters of Sigma Gamma Rho, what we have to do is make sure that young lambs of color are well armed to protest those things like the school to prison pipeline. We have to make sure that young lambs of color are well armed to protest the prison industrial complex. We have to make sure that young lambs of color are well armed to protest police brutality. We have to make sure that young lambs of color are well armed to protest economic racism like bacon while black. We have to make sure that young lambs of color are well armed to protest medical racism like the black women who were deceptively marketed to and advertised to put talcum powder and baby powder on them 25 years after the science and the research said it was causing ovarian cancer. We have to make sure that young lambs of color are well armed to protest environmental racism that will see our children in South Central Los Angeles have a third of the lung capacity as little white boys and girls who live 15 miles down the road in Santa Monica, California, because it is allowed for toxic, pollutant, poisonous chemical plants to be able to exist in our neighborhoods where our children play and go to school and live every day. They have made that legal. So what we have to do is continue to allow our children to be able to protest, not with guns and bullets and violence, but we must teach our children, these young lambs of color, to be able to protest with intellect, with diplomacy, with strategic thinking. That is the only way we will win this war, because we have to make sure our children are more intelligent than those who would seek to oppress them.
Yes. Powerful. Powerful.
You see now, more than ever, brothers and sisters, Sigma Gamma Rho, it seems to be a resurgence of white supremacy. And we're going to have to renew the commitment like those 7 founders, President Liberty, who defied white supremacy as they walked on the campus of Butler University.
Right.
And they walked past the grand wizards of the Ku Klux Klan. We have to have that spirit. We have to renew that spirit. Because our children have to know that we are willing to fight for them. And that we're willing to sacrifice for them. So we can give them a better America. Especially our black women. I think so often in 2020 we got justice for George Floyd. We got justice for Ahmaud Arbery.
Yes,
We
yes.
got justice for Dante Wright.
Yep.
We got justice for Andre Hill. All those black men were shot and killed by police or quasi-police, and all of them were charged and convicted and held accountable. That was largely to a lot of you young Sigma Gamma Rho's being on social media and Twitter and marching and protesting. So I thank you all for being my co-counsel, for being my legal team.
Yes.
We did this together. That's how we got these landmark victories. But I think so often about our sister Sandra Bland and our sister Breonna Taylor and our sister Atiana Jefferson and our sister Pamela Turner and the black women who have been killed by the police, and they have gotten no justice in the criminal courts. And it makes me think that we have to, now more than ever, renew our commitment like your 7 founders. If we're ever going to change the truths that Malcolm X spoke when he said the most disrespected, the most neglected, and the most unprotected person in America
Speak on
is
it.
the black woman.
Yep.
I say objection.
Tell them.
Objection. America, we're not going to allow that to be the reality today in 2022, 100 years after the 7 founders of Sigma Gamma Rho taught us about greater service for greater progress. We're not going to allow that to be reality, America. We're going to fight so we can give our children a better world, a better America, where George Floyd gets an opportunity to take another breath without a police officer putting his knee on his neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. We're going to give our children a better world, a better America, where Breonna Taylor gets to sleep in her bed throughout the night in peace without police officers kicking open her front door at 1 o'clock in the morning and mutilating her body with 9 bullets while she is practically naked in her nightgown. And we're going to give our children a better world, a better America, if we commit to your principles of greater service, greater progress, that Ahmaud Arbery will be able to run free without being lynched for jogging while black. Not in 1940, MC Light, not in 1950, but in 2020, in our day. We're going to give our children, all of our children, a better world, a better America, where they have an equal opportunity at life and liberty in the pursuit of happiness. We're going to make America live up to the Declaration of Independence when they say we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equally, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that amongst them are life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Well, America, that means black people too.
That's right.
That means brown people too. That means red people. That means all of us, America. And we're gonna make America live up to that declaration. And as I conclude my arguments, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, because Judge Liberty said I had 15 minutes to make my case, and I don't want to be held in contempt. We must renew the legacy of your founders, greater service to yield greater progress for our children. And we must remember that if we do this, then we will win. The enemies of equality won't win. The white supremacists won't win. The racists and discriminatory bigots won't win. But we are moral people of good character. We will win. But it's not going to be easy. It's never easy. The great Negro abolitionist Frederick Douglass said, without struggle, there could be no progress. So he understood, even in the midst of slavery, that as long as we were fighting, then we were winning. Your founders understood that as long as we were in the struggle, we were winning. And we must understand, no matter what rulers come from the United States Supreme Court today, as long as we're still struggling, and we got my sister Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson in the room, that we're going to win. We just have to stay committed to the struggle. And we must remember, as Dr. King said, that the coward will ask, is it safe? He said expediency will ask if it's politically correct. And then John Howard, he said, oh, vanity comes along and asks, is it popular? But then Grand Bosselus Liberty, he said, conscience comes along and asks if it's right. And Dr. King concluded, there comes a time when one must take a position that's neither popular nor politically correct or not even safe. But there comes a time when one must take a position because their conscience tells them it is the right thing to do. I submit to you, sisters of Sigma Gamma Rho, at your Centennial Boule, it is the right thing to do to stand up for our children. It is the right thing to do to speak up for our children. It is the right thing to do to fight for our children. Because if we don't fight for our children's future, we can't expect nobody else to fight for our children's future. And we got to be willing to fight for our children's future until hell freezes over. And then we got to be ready to fight on the ice.
Yes, sir.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Because that's how much our children have to know and believe that we believe in them. When we say Black Lives Matter, they can have no doubt that it's just rhetoric. We got to show them. We got to be committed to greater service, to have greater progress for our children. And I rest my case.
All right, then. All right. All right.